Hello and welcome to the One Life Church devotional series as we cover the entire Bible in 20 months. Well, today's chapters are Psalm 62 and 63. Now, Psalm 63 is, in my opinion, one of the most beautiful psalms ever written. In fact, when I read it this morning, everything in me just wanted to jump up, run outside, and sing a psalm and say a psalm, say these things to God myself. Look at what he says here. He says, "You, God, are my God, and I earnestly seek you. I thirst for you. My whole being longs for you." This is not really like the words of a religious mantra, is it? I mean, these are so intimate. "I have seen you in your sanctuary, and I've beheld your glory and your power, because your love is better than life." Now remember, his life, he was king. Your love better than life. "I will be fully satisfied with the richest of foods. With singing lips, my mouth will praise you. On my bed, I'll remember you." He says, compared to all the richest of foods, I just want you. I want to eat of you. I want to partake of you. You know, when Jesus came, he said he was the bread of life, wasn't he? And whoever was eating of him or drinking of him would never thirst, would never hunger again. And David had that sense. He said, I think about you in the watches of the night. In other words, I wake up in the evening and I think about you. Because you're my help, I sing in the shadow of your wings. He says, you know what I'm singing about you and I'm worshiping you right now? He says, like, I feel like I'm tucked in under the wings of a mother hen or a mother eagle. He says, I cling to you, and your right hand upholds me. What a beautiful, beautiful psalm. And it ends by saying, and I know you're dealing with my enemies. What a wonderful way to ask God to deal with your enemies, to come before him like that. Well, I trust that sometime today you'll be able to draw aside and tell God what you think about him. I'm certainly planning to do that in a few minutes. Now, verse 62, Psalm 62 is in the subscript. It says it's for Jeduthun. Now, who is Jeduthun? Jeduthun was one of the main singers that David had put aside. And in 1 Chronicles 16:42, we find out that his descendants were porters. They used to carry stuff, and they were doorkeepers. Spurgeon, when he was talking about this particular psalm, he was a great theologian, he said, have you noticed? These singers were actually also servants. So in other words, they were ported. They helped carry people's stuff. They carried the stuff of the temple from place to place. And they were doorkeepers. They stood at the door. People who know how to worship God like that, have soft hearts, and they're able to serve. If you want to be a worship leader, it seems to be linked to serving, doesn't it? He says, my soul finds rest in you, O God. And this whole psalm, he says it a number of times, my soul finds rest in you. What's the context of this psalm? He's reflecting on people wanting to topple him. In fact, he says in verse 4, surely they intend to topple me from my lofty place. So here's the king reflecting on the people that want him out of power. And he says, my soul finds rest in you. He says, I'm tempted to do things politically, but he says, don't trust in extortion. Don't do that. And he says, I trust in God only to keep me in my position and to deal with those that are like yapping at my feet. He says, I trust in the Lord, which really, for me, is the essence of this particular chapter, is rest in God. Now remember, God had always designed us to live at rest, to work for 6 days and to rest. And what was he doing in giving us that day to rest? He was saying, listen, you don't have to go out to your fields. I will make things grow. I will look after your sheep. I will look after you. You can trust me with the rest of your work while you are resting. Same with tithing, wasn't it? You can give 1/10 to the Lord, knowing that he will do more with that 1/10 than you can do with your 90% anyway. So you can trust in him. So resting, being generous, etc., is a reflection of our trust of God. And that's what David's saying. He's saying, I want to find rest in you. You know, and as New Testament believers, now that Jesus has come, we live in rest all the time. Hebrews chapter 4 says, and there is yet another day. Enter into that rest, and that rest is Jesus. Jesus is our rest. The same with tithing. He is Melchizedek, the priest in the order of Melchizedek, receiving our tithe. When we tithe, when we rest, when we stop fretting, God says it's a reflection of your trust of me and your faith in me. Now, talking about faith leads me to Luke. Remember our friend Luke, he's asked this question, because the very last verse in this psalm says, you reward everyone according to what they've done, whether they're the people being toppled or the people who are coming to do the toppling or everybody in between. You reward everybody according to what he has done. And Luke says, well, what does that mean? How does God reward you? Well, Luke, he's not only rewarding you in a sense of giving you a prize. Now, for every believer, there is that prize. There's the glory of God. What's the glory? Being in his presence, knowing him. I mean, the Bible talks about mansions and positions we hold, but really it's in essence being with God, partaking with what he has for us. But that's not for everybody. Those who do not accept Christ, well, their reward is a life separate from him. They've chosen to live life separate from him. And life separate from God is hell. That's essentially what it is. So that's the answer to that particular question. God bless you.